There's a moment every man experiences, a moment where he realizes the words he thought were harmless were actually destroying everything he wanted with her. And if you've ever wondered why she suddenly pulled back, lost interest, or treated another guy with more desire than she ever gave you, it always traces back to the phrases you use without even knowing their power. Most men never learn this. They think attraction is built on looks, money, or some magical personality trait they were either born with or unlucky enough to live without. But the truth is far more uncomfortable and far more liberating. Women aren't drawn to the men with the best features or perfect lives. They're drawn to the men who speak in a way that hits her emotional wiring directly, effortlessly, instinctively. And when you understand how that wiring works, you stop chasing, stop begging, stop hoping, and start commanding a gravitational pull she feels in her body before she even understands why. You've been taught to be polite, agreeable, nice, and emotionally open on command. You were taught to communicate like a man trying to prove he's harmless, but women don't desire harmless. They don't crave soft-spoken neediness disguised as honesty. They crave polarity, mystery, presence, strength disguised in simple words that carry weight because they come from a man who knows who he is. And that is why these 5 forbidden phrases are so dangerous. Not because they're manipulative, not at all, but because they awaken instincts in her that most men accidentally shut off. These phrases bypass her logical mind and speak directly to her subconscious, the part of her that decides desire long before she can justify it. Right now, as you're listening to my voice, there's a part of you thinking, why has no one ever taught me this? Because they don't want you to know. A man who understands female psychology is powerful. A man who understands emotional influence is unignorable. And a man who speaks in a way that activates a woman's feminine core can walk into any room, any city, any culture, and instantly stand out without forcing anything. The first forbidden phrase will feel uncomfortable the moment you hear it, because it goes against everything society told you a woman wants. But once you use it, once you see how her eyes change, how her energy shifts toward you instead of away, you'll never go back to the old version of yourself again. Before I reveal it, I want you to understand something critical. Desire is not created when you impress her. It's created when she feels something around you she doesn't feel from other men. And yes, just a few words can completely shift how she sees your value. A sentence can change her perception of you faster than expensive dates, long conversations, or chasing her endlessly ever could. You're about to learn how to trigger emotions she fights to hide, even from herself. Emotions she claims she doesn't feel. Emotions society tells her are toxic, but instincts don't care about morality. They care about attraction, strength, and polarity. So listen closely, very closely, because once these phrases become part of your natural vocabulary, the way women respond to you will never look the same. Are you ready? The first forbidden phrase is simple, but it hits a woman harder than you can imagine. It's this: I don't chase, I choose. Most men spend their lives convincing women they're worthy. They audition, they prove, they try to win her over. But when you say these words, not as a performance, not as a threat, but as a calm statement of identity, you flip the dynamic instantly. Because suddenly, you're not trying to be chosen. You are the chooser. Understand something. Women feel desire only when they sense you have options, standards, and a direction in life that doesn't bend for their validation. Even if she never says it out loud, she can sense the difference between a man who wants her and a man who needs her. Need kills attraction faster than anything else, and this phrase removes need entirely. When a man says, I don't chase, I choose, it makes her stop and reassess everything she assumed about him. Is he the kind of man who walks away if something doesn't align? Is he the type who won't beg or compete? Is he the type who sees himself as valuable, maybe even more valuable than she expected? Every woman feels a deep magnetic pull toward a man who sets boundaries without aggression, who positions himself as the prize without arrogance, who stays grounded, not reactive. This phrase does all of that in one breath. It rearranges her expectations. It introduces polarity. Now, the second forbidden phrase cuts even deeper. It's this: I'm not here to fill a void in your life. You have no idea how many men try to be the solution to a woman's fears, insecurities, loneliness, or emotional emptiness. Not because they want to manipulate, but because they think this is what good men do. But when you try to fix her emotional world, you become a therapist, not a partner. You become comfort, not desire. And women do not desire the man they emotionally parent. This phrase tells her clearly, without cruelty, that you're not here to rescue her, that you expect her to meet you as an equal, not a project. It puts her in the feminine position where she has to bring value, energy, softness, and intention, rather than just take yours. And here's the part men never understand. When you refuse the role of emotional caretaker, she becomes more attracted, not less. Because now she sees you as a man with a life, a mission, a center that cannot be moved by someone else's chaos. Women feel safest and most drawn to a man who can stand firm while the world wobbles. Now, the third forbidden phrase may sound subtle, but it taps straight into the psychology of desire. It's this: I hear you, but that's not my reality. Most men agree with women just to avoid conflict. They nod, submit, and fold because they fear losing her. But women don't fall for men who collapse under pressure. They fall for men who stay true to their interpretation of the world, calmly, confidently, and without hostility. This phrase shows emotional independence. It shows you're not impressionable. And above all, it shows her you're not seeking approval. And nothing awakens feminine desire faster than a man who isn't looking for permission to think for himself. Use these three phrases correctly. Not as tricks, but as reflections of who you're becoming, and you'll notice a shift. She leans in more. She watches you differently. She tries harder, because now you're becoming the man her instincts recognize. The fourth forbidden phrase is the one most men are terrified to say because it requires confidence, emotional composure, and a backbone most guys never develop. But when you say it with calm certainty, it hits a woman in a way she can't ignore. It's this: if it doesn't feel right, I'm willing to walk away. Understand something crucial. A woman does not desire the man who clings. She doesn't crave the man who tolerates anything just to keep her. She doesn't respect the man who fears losing her more than he fears losing himself. When you speak this phrase, without anger, without exaggeration, without trying to scare her, you communicate something extremely rare in today's world. You have self-respect, you have emotional stability, and you refuse to participate in a connection that drains your value, energy, or peace. Women are biologically wired to test a man's internal strength, not to hurt him, but to feel who he truly is. These tests are instinctual, subconscious, automatic, and the moment she senses you're terrified of losing her, she loses the very attraction you're trying to earn. This phrase reverses that dynamic instantly because it shows her that you're not operating from fear, you're operating from self-worth. A man who can walk away is a man she wants to follow. A man who doesn't need her is a man she wants to give herself to. It's the